What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and this is my Draw My Life. This is mostly being done as sort of like a thank you kind of thing for hitting 100,000 subscribers. So of course, thank you very much to everyone who watches my videos and all that stuff. Even if you're a hater, I don't even care. Like honestly, I love you guys so much, so thank you very much. And I will have a giveaway, a pretty big giveaway actually, coming in the pretty near future, so definitely stay tuned for that. And as we go through this, be aware that my drawings kind of suck, and I'm only really using paint as well, so it's not like the most highest quality thing ever, but whatever. Most of the Draw My Lives are like that anyways. So my story begins with me being born. I was born in Ottawa, Canada on March 22nd, 1996, and I actually don't really have that much memory of living in Canada since I ended up moving to California when I was 3 years old. So I don't really have much memory of my experiences in Ottawa, but I am still technically Canadian, and still to this day, I'm actually not a US citizen. I still have just my Canadian citizenship, and I visit pretty often. And when I was really young, I would have like this habit of making things into games. Like I would turn life situations into just like a game, right? It ended up into my parents actually getting me into a lot of educational video games. And so they ended up buying things. I think the one I remember is Carmen Sandiego, which was like this like detective mystery game with a bunch of like math and stuff in it and all that good stuff. So that's like technically the first games I played. So that was when I was about 4 years old. But when I got into elementary school, so I had this friend, his name was Benjamin. And he was into games too, I think probably through the same way that my parents got me into games technically. So he was a little bit more advanced. He was playing like more like, I guess you could say like real games. And so like one day when I was in I think it was first grade, it was either first or second grade. Maybe it was third grade. I don't even know, whatever. But he comes up to me, he's like, dude, you gotta check this game out, man. This game's awesome. And I was like, oh, what game is it? And so that game ended up being RuneScape. So RuneScape was the first like legitimate game that I played. And I actually consider that game to be the game that got me into games. So RuneScape was the first like significant big game I played. And because of RuneScape, I have an absolute love for video games. And I played RuneScape for I think it was about like 2 years or something like that. And also at the time I was into watching cartoons, so I was watching like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and like shows on like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff, like SpongeBob, all that good stuff. And so I ended up getting into like TCGs, like card games, a lot because of the TV shows like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. So I ended up like gathering this big collection of like Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and it was actually really fun because like I would do chores for my parents, and then after I worked for them for like maybe an hour or something, they'd say, hey, let's go to Target and buy you some Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever. And it was like it was the greatest. It was like, oh, just get some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It was the best. So that was like, at that time I was just like collecting the cards. I wasn't really doing anything with them, but it was like still like a fun thing to do, as well as like playing RuneScape all the time, and then, you know, going to school. I was just a little kid anyways. But what actually ended up happening is that throughout elementary school, it mostly happened around 3rd and 4th grade. It didn't really, it kind of fell off later on, but around 3rd and 4th grade, I got bullied by this kid. He wouldn't, like, it wasn't always violent, but a lot of the time it was just like putting me down. He's like, dude, you're such a dumbass. Like, he would tell me shit like that like every day. And I'm just like a 3rd grade kid, man. Like, dude, that shit hurts, man. But later on, when I was going into 5th grade, I actually like learned a lot more about him, because I kind of tried to be his friend. It didn't really work, but I still tried. And so like I ended up talking to some of his other friends who they kind of just pitied him, honestly. Like, this kid that bullied me, it was actually really sad. So he had like one of the worst home lives I've ever seen to this day. I think so. Like, it was just so unbelievably bad. And like when that happened, I was like, you know what, dude, I'm just gonna let him bully me. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, my home life, like, my parents were awesome. Like, my parents buy me Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Pokemon cards, and they buy me video games. So like, I didn't even care at that point. I was just like, whatever, I'll just let it go, man. I'll just let him go. And so when I was ending 5th grade, what actually ended up happening was, oh my god, I'm not proud of this, okay? I'm not proud of this, but it's what happened, and it's kind of like a big plot point, I guess, in my story. So what ended up happening is that my RuneScape account actually got permabanned because I was buying in-game gold with real money. So I would pay like 10 bucks and they'd give me like some amount of gold or whatever. So my account got banned, and yeah, it was a legitimate ban. I definitely deserved that ban. It was really stupid. I was like 8 years old. Like, please do not judge me. And so what ended up happening was I actually moved on to World of Warcraft, which was awesome. World of Warcraft was absolutely amazing, and it's still probably the best game I've ever played, or at least the most fun I've ever had playing a game to this day. And I played World of Warcraft for a pretty long time. But overall, at the end of the day, I did kind of develop some social issues due to playing World of Warcraft. Like I became like really shy. Yeah, nothing terrible, but it was just like, I'm shy, I'm socially awkward, I'm a pretty big nerd, and I have a really hard time connecting with people who don't share like a common interest with me. And so middle school came around and I was still playing World of Warcraft. What actually happened later on was, I mean, I say that I kind of like shrugged off the bullying from this kid in elementary school, but it actually like really got to me. And eventually, like, that combined with the social issues developed from playing World of Warcraft like all the time, like everything, the only thing I could ever think about was World of Warcraft. Like, I go home, it's like, all right, I'm gonna think about, if I can't play World of Warcraft, I'm just gonna think about it, research and do all this stuff and strategize and all these things. And it was a lot of fun, but eventually I actually became a bully to someone else. I was really, really passive aggressive to them. And I was really close-minded. Like, it started out with me being their friend, but then I turned out to be, like, such an asshole to them. Like, he ended up having, like, a nervous breakdown in front of me. Like, he started crying. He was yelling at me. He was like, dude, Jeremy, can you just once, can you just be cool? And it was, like, that instant, I was like, oh, my God, I am an asshole. And so, after that, I was, like, I totally made up for it. I mean, I guess you can't really permanently make up for bullying, but it's still more than what most bullies have done. Like, I apologized to him, I changed my attitude, and I became a lot nicer of a person because of that. And even though I'm not really proud of that experience, it's actually like something that I do not regret at all. Even though I was a major bully to this kid who I thought was my friend, it actually ended up making me a very nice person at the end of the day, I think. And so that's kind of like where my attitude comes from, is because I know what it's like to be an asshole. And so now I have a pretty easy time stopping myself, like almost immediately when I do something that's like really mean. High school came along and I did get bored of World of Warcraft, so that means I played WoW for about 3.5 years, I think. But anyways, I started hanging out with like some real friends. They did go to the same middle school as me, but some nicer guys. And with them, we actually ended up getting a lot of nostalgia for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they basically did the same thing I did, where it's when you're really young, you just collect, and then later on in middle school, you start to play for a little bit, and then after that, you kind of fall off. And now we're in high school, it's, dude, we can actually play this game. And so we started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For real, like really, I got really into Yu-Gi-Oh! At this time, like I wasn't really playing video games that much. I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Probably like 3 to 5 hours a day, every single day. And if I wasn't playing, I was researching or thinking about it. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Was so much fun. And I actually got really, really into the competitive scene. Played some legitimate decks that were actually worth quite a bit of money. And it was a very good experience, actually. And I made probably some of the best friends ever. And people who I expect to be friends with for the rest of my life playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And so they were like, hey, you should just play League with us. It was the preseason to season 2. That was when I started playing League. And it was also when I started making YouTube videos. And so my first YouTube videos, I think I have about 90 videos on that channel. It's not GamingCurios. It was February 2011 when I started this channel, and I made videos about Yu-Gi-Oh! It was really fun to play games with friends, honestly. And that's actually what developed my social skills, I think. Like, playing League and Yu-Gi-Oh! With my friends made me, like, such a, you know, like, I'm not an awkward person anymore. I'm pretty open. I can talk about, like, anything to people most of the time. But yeah, playing games with my friends did make me a lot more outgoing. So I was playing badminton as well, and I played some hockey. But yeah, so I made most of my money playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I would buy, sell, trade cards all the time, and I was pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh! As well as really, really good. I was really good at selling things on eBay. It was pretty good. So I ended up making, I think it was about $3,000 in 8 months from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like consistently every single week. And it was a lot of fun. And so I bought the laptop, I bought like a keyboard, a microphone, and all that good stuff. And so I started gaming vids on a channel that is not GamingCurios, but I was watching this one YouTuber at the time, Colby Cheese, and so I was like, oh my god, Colby Cheese's videos are so awesome. I should try doing what Colby Cheese does, because at the time I didn't know what I was doing, and so I just copied other people, which was really bad. You shouldn't do that. But that's what I did, and so I was like, alright, I'm gonna make a guide. And so the first guide I ever made was how to play as an aggressive support. And I made the video, I finished it, and then I watched it myself, and I was like, oh my god, this video is actually really good. Wow. And it was like the first video out of like 200 videos that I've ever made that was actually, you know, decent. And so I really liked the video, but I was like, I could probably do better. And so that made me realize that guides is what I wanted to do. And so I started GamingCurios. I remade the guide entirely. And from there, I just did the best I could. And I developed my own style. I started doing things in a unique way and all that good stuff. So that's where GamingCurios started. And so from then, I started to get some, you know, decent paychecks. I was getting some decent views. I was able to convince my family that YouTube is a legitimate thing. And since then, I've saved up actually a lot of money. And when I was about a junior in high school, I realized that I could probably afford to make a living off of YouTube alone. And YouTube was a thing that I realized I could make really, really legitimate for myself. So I worked pretty hard at it. And eventually, as I transitioned into senior year, I continued to work on YouTube, of course. This is when GamingCurios started to be like pretty big, I guess. I don't know. It's not really that big, but you know, like big enough, I guess you could say. Big enough to impress people, I think is how I could put it at least. So when I was a senior, I started college applications, which was actually a pretty interesting process for me because I didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school. So I was like, whatever, I'll just apply to like California schools. I'm not gonna try really hard. But it ended up being like really good. And so I got into Berkeley. And that's actually where I'm going to be going next year. So that leaves us at today pretty much. It's the summer. I graduated high school. I'm 18 years old. I've never had a girlfriend despite being rejected like 5 times, I think. But yeah, I'll be studying computer science at UC Berkeley I move in August 23rd. And so at around that time, I guess you guys can expect videos to slow down, maybe just a little bit. But I really, really, really do not want to quit YouTubing in college. And it's all because of you guys for watching my videos and supporting me and all that good stuff. And yeah, I guess that's about it. That's where my life's at right now. I'm pretty young actually, honestly. Like my life hasn't been like the most amazing experiences ever. It's kind of just like a normal life. Do well in school, move on, go to college. But YouTube it's a big part of my life now, and I'm really thankful for that. So thank you guys very much. That concludes the Draw My Life, I guess. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.